Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought, of course, that I would talk about this video that I found to be very particularly interesting. And I believe that this is going to be a video and a topic by that of FightHype.com, where they ended up interviewing a part of Regis Prograis' team. I believe that this is either one of his coaches or perhaps one of Regis Prograis' lead nutritionists, if not his lead nutritionist. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. I haven't done my proper research over on it, but what I do know is that this man is a part of the Regis Prograis team. But anyways, he recently stated something overall, or he was talking about who may potentially be the biggest threat to that of Devin the Dream Haney, who at the current moment in time appears to be the top dog now in a new weight class at 140 pounds at the junior welterweight class or the super lightweight class, whatever you want to label it as. Devin Haney, now after his most recent dominating win over that of Regis Prograis, appears to be the top dog on campus within that weight class. So the question is, now with some of the belts moving around between that of Isaac Pitbull Cruz, Subriel Matias, Teofimo Lopez, and of course some other names being in that weight class, Regis Prograis now, of course, probably being crossed off the list because he lost so dominantly. But there also being other names like Jose Ramirez, I believe he's still there, Josh Taylor, and some other ones, who potentially could be the biggest threat to that of Devin Haney. And of course, that's not even talking about some of the 135 pounders that could eventually move up or fight Devin Haney at a catchweight with that of Gervonta Davis and that of Shakur Stevenson. And this pretty much is going to be the perfect video because right now the 140-pound weight class, in my view, it's a very particularly interesting division. I wouldn't say that all the champions there, in my view, are necessarily A grade, but they're very particularly interesting to watch. You have both Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez, who I think are both A grade level fighters. Tio's kind of a back and forth fighter. At times will put on a legendary performance, and then other times a very underwhelming performance. Devin Haney, he's a guy to where you take a look at him sometimes on the surface, and you don't think he's quite as skilled sometimes as some of the other top pound for pound fighters. But then when each and every single fight, he seems to get better and better and more focused and more impressive. So how good is he really? We'll have to see. Because even though I think Devin Haney, even though I think he's an extraordinary talent, I haven't really quite seen him in the ring with someone yet that, in my view, can really challenge him skill-wise, and on top of that, is near his own same size. Now, of course, he was in the ring against Vasily Lomachenko, but Lomachenko, in my view, is probably about a natural 126 to 130 pounder. And Haney's a big boy. Haney can rehydrate all the way up to about 165 from what I hear. I know damn well for sure that he can rehydrate to 160 because he did in his last fight, I believe. So Devin Haney is not a small guy. But anyways, but it's going to be very interesting. And this guy, he's also going to be stating something that I've been stating about Gervonta Davis for a very long time, which is that even though Gervonta Davis is an excellent fighter and someone that is a tremendous talent, and in my personal view, has potential number one pound for pound potential, at least in the future, if he's able to fight those big names, what he's going to state is the same exact thing that I've been stating about Gervonta Davis for the longest time, which is that he has not been in the ring with the elite level names. He has not been in the ring overall with the type of names that a Devin Haney has been in there with, at least at the current moment in time. He hasn't fought that level of competition yet, and that's the truth. It is what it is. And a lot of people, of course, they can state that, oh, he was in the ring against Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Mario Barrios and Leo Santa Cruz and Ryan Garcia and Hector Garcia. None of those guys are definitive A-grade level fighters. All those guys mainly are pretty much one-dimensional or, decent B-grade Latino level fighters. I think that maybe you could get away with saying that Leo Santa Cruz is maybe about an A-minus level fighter. That's a maybe. And then, of course, Ryan Garcia, maybe an A-minus level fighter. But Gervonta Davis, once again, he's going to have to start getting in the ring with some of those bigger names soon because he's almost 30-0 and he's almost 30 years old. And at the end of the day, there's been no super duper elite fighters on their resume. People can bitch, moan, and complain about that all they want to. And once again, a lot of the videos that I like to review from that of the LDBC and new media, we all know the standards on a fighter like Canelo Alvarez with a fighter that is a non-black American fighter. So why are the same standards not applied to that of Gervonta Davis, at least with certain channels like Aki TV, Boxing Ego, and also that of Dante's Boxing Nation or some of these other channels? Because we all know what is said when Canelo Alvarez states that, overall that he's going to fight a fighter at a catchweight or bring a fighter up one weight class, or when he states that, he needs a lot of money for David Benavidez or that fight's not going to happen right now. We all know what they would say about Canelo Alvarez, so why are these same standards not applied to that of Gervonta Davis? I already know the answer to that, as well as a lot of you do too. But once again, very particularly interesting, and we have to keep the same standard for everyone, at least mainly. But anyways, that's pretty much about it overall for the intro. Let's get into it. Let's see what this man has to say.
Well, getting past Ryan, then who do you think poses the most challenge, at least in that division? Tio, Pitbull, or Matias? Because he says he wants to be undisputed in that weight class.
Before he speaks, and not to interrupt this early on, but if you're asking me personally, who do I believe is the biggest threat to Devin Haney at the 140-pound weight class, just out of all the champions? I mean, to me, it's either between one or two fighters. I think that it would either be Isaac Pitbull Cruz or Teofimo Lopez. Now, Teofimo Lopez, of course, in my view, is the smarter fighter and the more multi-dimensional fighter compared to that of Isaac Pitbull Cruz. But Teofimo Lopez, I would not bet on him to beat Devin Haney. He has shown me every single time that he's been in there with a wiry, lengthy, and defensive fighter that he really can't handle that type of style. He's not a guy that is very good on the front foot at all. Sometimes he can be a little bit too slow with his feet. Sometimes he can rely a little bit too much on his counter-punching ability and not open up enough offensive attacks. And then when he tries to, he can keep certain hands down, like his right hand down. That's why he gets knocked down, overall sometimes. With the lead, hook, I believe by that. Or, it could be his left hand. I'm trying to remember which one, if he got knocked down with the left cross or knocked down with the right hook. I thought he got knocked down with the right hook. I think he keeps his left hand down, but I would have to remember that. But Teofimo Lopez, he's going to have to be very careful. Tio, in my view, compared to that of Devin Haney, he just doesn't have the type of style to beat that of Devin Haney. Now, he has the power and he has certain talents, but he just has the completely wrong style in my view. Because, to be quite honest with you, Teofimo Lopez is a little bit more like Devin Haney than what some people would realize. Tio is a guy that he doesn't really use his feet as much as what Devin Haney does, but he fights a lot on the back foot, and a lot of the times he likes to fight a little bit more defensively. Devin Haney is willing to push the action a little bit more. The thing is about Devin Haney is that there's certain mistakes that he also makes, like sometimes he's a bit too hittable for his own good, but at the end of the day, Devin Haney will push the action if he needs to. Now it'll be interesting once again to see how Devin Haney reacts overall once again to a guy that is going to be the same size as him and someone that can really handle his skill set and someone that's, both good offensively and defensively. Like I said, there's only one fighter that he's ever really fought like that in my view, at least in terms of, who really is that good on that level, and that's Vasily Lomachenko. But Lomachenko, I thought once again, not only was he a bit older, although I'm not really going to use that excuse, but Lomachenko, he was still a clear A-grade fighter, and Haney deserves credit. And on top of that, it was a very close fight. But Lomachenko, once again, he's probably about 2 weight classes lower than that of Devin Haney. I mean, Haney was probably a legitimate 20 pounds heavier than Lomachenko. But it is what it is. He still ended up pulling out the win. Some people, of course, would say it was controversial. I would say it was a very close fight. I think that I would have scored it a bit closer than 8 rounds to 4, but maybe I'd have to rewatch it. I don't know. Anyways, when it comes down to once again, I'm going to be very interested because I don't think Teofimo Lopez has the right style, but in terms of the most challenging fight, it may be either Teofimo Lopez or Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Certain people might say Subriel Matias, but Subriel Matias, in my view, he's a guy that pretty much is just waiting to get exposed. Isaac Pitbull Cruz, he's also another one-dimensional fighter in my view, but at least with his one-dimensional style, he's just very hard to catch because not only is he good defensively and he stays in that little short, stout peekaboo style, and he's very short and compact, so it's very hard to hit him to the body. It's very hard to hit him to the head because he's pretty decent defensively, and on top of that, he's only about 5'6", maybe even a little bit shorter. So Isaac Pitbull Cruz, he's going to be very hard to hit. I think he's even shorter because I think he's even shorter than Gervonta Davis. But I could be wrong about that. But yeah, Isaac Pitbull Cruz, man, he's, he could be a little bit tough because Isaac Pitbull Cruz, he has a little bit of pop in his punches. He's going to come for the whole entire time, and you know what he's going to do. He's going to try to spam you with hooks, but sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming. Would I predict Isaac Pitbull Cruz to beat that of Devin Haney? No. But to be quite honest with you, I'd give him more of a chance over Devin Haney than what I would Teofimo Lopez. And not because, once again, that I think that Isaac Pitbull Cruz is better as a fighter than Teofimo Lopez. I just don't think Tio has the right style. I don't think he has the right type of style at all, unless he starts off with a very early body attack and he really tries to go on the front foot and is better defensively and is just more comfortable. I just don't know if I see it, but we'll see.
I think Matias poses a threat because he could punch, but man, it's difficult to catch a fucking cat, bro. You gotta be able to train and cut the ring off, and Haney's team has been successful at getting away from big punchers. So I like Matias. Matias is he's a Puerto Rican kid.
And that might be his way of stating that Devin Haney is a quote-unquote runner or someone that's a little bit too defensive. I'm not quite sure, but Devin Haney, he does like to fight a little bit more defensive first. He likes to fight a little bit more on the back foot. And because of his size and because of overall, once again, his, his length and his reach and his speed, he can get away with that. Now, once again, I'm not quite sure how good of an inside fighter Devin Haney really is. I thought a lot of the times when he was on the inside against Lomachenko, now, of course, you expect that because Lomachenko was such a seasoned and, a decently great fighter. You expect him to have problems on the inside with that guy. But I'm going to be interested to see what he does against the more elite fighters that can actually handle him on the inside. Like if Vasily Lomachenko, if he was the same size as Devin Haney, that would have been interesting to see how Devin Haney would have handled that. He probably would have lost. And once again, that's not me giving an excuse, but once again, that's going to be interesting because Devin Haney, in my view, is not as good defensively as one would probably seem. He seems very defensively responsible because he's always using his feet and he's becoming better defensively as the fight goes along or as his career goes along. But sometimes he gets hit a little bit too often. That's why he's been hurt against multiple opponents in his career, like Jojo Diaz, even a little bit against Kambosos, I believe. Jorge Linares, because sometimes he keeps his guard down a little bit too long. So we'll see.
My daughter was born in Puerto Rico, so I got love for the island, I like Matias.
But in terms of Subriel Matias beating that of Devin Haney, I just don't see it. Subriel Matias, in my view, he's a fighter that pretty much is waiting to get exposed. I find him to be a very one-dimensional fighter. I think that he's able to beat fighters that are pretty much on his same level, or fighters that may only be ever so slightly above. But when he fights real pedigree fighters that also have a decent pop in their punch, and Devin Haney isn't a guy that probably has a grade level power, but he probably has around B+ level power at this weight class. I think that he would have more than enough to keep Subriel Matias off of him. Just my personal view. And on top of that, Matias is not the most defensively responsible fighter.
I think Tio's he's also kind of on that mental up and down stage, like Garcia. And then you got Pitbull, who is just, he's a Pitbull, but I think he's just too small. Devin probably boxed circles around him.
Do you want to be a part of the most exciting opportunity in franchising? Introducing Game Day Men's Health.
Around him.
So Matias will probably be his toughest fight?
Yeah, Matias may be his toughest fight, yeah.
I think that Matias, out of all the most recent champions, just in my personal view, I believe that Matias is the easiest fight for that to Devin Haney, just in my personal view. Now, I'd have to look, maybe overall at his size. Maybe he's a little bit bigger than what I think. But I think that Subriel Matias is around 5'8", maybe give or take. I'd have to take a look. But I don't quite even know if I would say that Subriel Matias would beat Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Subriel Matias, once again, he's a little bit of a terrifying fighter because he's always putting on the pressure, and the level of power that he has is pretty tremendous. Even when he's not shifting all the power with his whole body weight and just punching with his arms, he's a dude that punches very hard. But at the end of the day, I don't see it with him. I don't see a fighter out of Subriel Matias that, in my view, is going to be a long-reigning champion. I just don't see that.
The guy is posed a threat for Haney.
If there was a percentage threat, right, between Matias and Devin, right, what would the split be? Like Matias 40, 50, 50?
It ain't no 50-50 fight. The styles would make that fight. Matias, he comes forward. So I would go 60-35. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, first of all, you're missing a 5% on that percentage. But if we're talking about Devin Haney versus Subriel Matias, I would probably give it 80-20. I would give Subriel Matias a 20% chance. If even that, I may even give him only a 10% chance. I don't see Subriel Matias beating that of Devin Haney. I don't see him beating Teofimo Lopez more than likely. I don't see him beating Devin Haney. I don't see him, even beating Isaac Pitbull Cruz. He may be able to defeat Isaac Pitbull Cruz because, if he puts on the pressure very early and hurts Isaac Pitbull Cruz, I'm not sure how Isaac is going to react. And Isaac Pitbull Cruz doesn't come across as a fighter that can fight well on the back foot. But Devin Haney or Tio, no.
With Devin being, 35, Matias got a shot. If Matias can catch him moving and not get caught looking at the fans while Devin Haney in back somewhere.
Quick leg.
Yeah, quick ass leg. And it's almost like, I had my nephew play receiver, and my sister would tell me he didn't want to get hit, so you fucking couldn't catch him. So Haney don't want to get hit by Matias, so they're gonna figure out something to get him away. Matias coming, he coming forward. And if you come forward,
yeah, he's coming forward. He'll probably come forward right into a bunch of shots. It just is what it is. Now the question will be once again is that, will Devin Haney have enough power overall to keep back Subriel Matias, and will Subriel Matias find a way to get in his attacks? I'm not quite so sure about that. You're talking about a fighter that's going to have the quickest feet there overall at that weight class, and a guy that's going to be very lengthy and somewhat tall. Now, I don't think he's that much taller than Matias, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't see how Subriel Matias really catches Devin Haney in that fight. I don't see it. And if Devin Haney were to knock out Subriel Matias, I wouldn't be shocked either.
or you can't hit, it's not going to be a good fight.
Walking away from that fight with Devin at 140, do you think Tank and Shakur, either one, can do it?
They pose a threat. Because
I think that they pose the biggest threat to that of Devin Haney, both Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis. And of course, Vasily Lomachenko, he posed a decent threat as well. But of course, Devin Haney was able to slightly pull out of that fight. Of course, a lot of people would allege that Lomachenko won that fight. I thought that it was close enough to go either way. But at the end of the day, Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson, at least moving forward, those are the two guys that, in my opinion, are the biggest threats to that of a Devin Haney. And Devin Haney, you can clearly see that he's fine with fighting Gervonta Davis, but you can tell that he's a little bit worried about fighting someone like a Shakur Stevenson. And I don't blame him, because Shakur right now is not going to give you as much of a major payday. He's a guy that, of course, a lot of people know, but, a lot of people, when they take a look at Shakur, if you're a Gervonta Davis or if you're a Devin Haney, you kind of want that fight to build a little bit more if you take on that fight. Because Shakur is not going to be an easy fight for anyone. Shakur is a very, extremely talented boxer, excellent boxer.
Shakur is the ultimate. That motherfucker he could box, he could punch. The same with.
Well, that's the one thing that I have to say about Shakur Stevenson. I'm not really quite sure about the pop in his punch. I mean, a lot of people overall really state things about Devin Haney. If we're really going to criticize anyone's punching power here, and I'm not stating that Devin Haney, once again, has the highest amount of power that I've ever seen, but Shakur Stevenson is a guy that, that the pop in his punch, I really have to worry about Shakur Stevenson. Because other than the 130 or the 126-pound weight classes, I really haven't seen any destructive power out of Shakur Stevenson, to be honest with you. I haven't really even seen any destructive power out of him in those weight classes. Shakur's just not a guy that, in my view, has A-grade level power. To be quite honest with you, he barely has B-grade level power. He looks like he has about B- to B-grade level power, probably about B- level power. Now, it could just be maybe sometimes because, maybe he's not sitting on the shots enough, or maybe he's just, playing a little bit, too defensive. I don't know, but he doesn't come across to me as a guy that is super powerful.
With Tank, I really hope that we see fights like that. Yeah. With kids with that type of IQ and that type of grit and those type of, accolades and pedigree, like a guy like Tank and Shakur. Those are the best fights, man. And back in the day, Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Iran Barkley, they fought each other. So, let them kids fight, man. The public want to see it. They owe it to the public. I don't think Haney's afraid to fight them. I think he's been asking for the fight, but I don't know. It's money. I guess it's money, politics. I don't know. And I think Shakur is maybe on a because people kind of counted him out after the last fight.
Yeah.
And everybody has a bad fight.
I agree.
But that mother.
Well, I'm not going to state that anyone counted Shakur Stevenson out because of his last fight. I think that if you know boxing, that you know not to just count out a boxer just because of one, performance where they didn't look quite as dominant. But what I will state is this: it was not really that great of a performance. Shakur Stevenson, in my view, he really couldn't do much other than jab De Los Santos to death. He really didn't have much in that fight at all, in terms of a multitude of skill sets. It is what it is. Now, that could just be overall because he was like, you know what, this dude is very powerful. He's lengthy. He's a little bit bigger than me, and I don't want to risk possibly losing against someone like this. Someone that, is very dangerous, but someone overall that I really don't find to be on my level, and someone overall that, if I lose this, it could really fuck up my career, for life. So, I think I'm just going to play this one safe a little bit and just, kind of outbox him. So I don't really mind Shakur Stevenson, outboxing him like that, but in my view, it was not the best performance. Because even boxing from the outside, he really did not land that many punches.
Okay, he could
didn't
fight.
change my mind.
No, the kid could fight, and I think they done pissed Shakur off.
You think this?
I think they done pissed that because I ain't heard nothing from him. They done pissed that kid off, and he may come back and beat the shit out of some people. I'm talking about like knocking motherfuckers out. You know what I'm saying? Because he could box. He just like Haney. He could box. He could punch. He's strong. He's durable, and he got some fucking heart. So, and Tank is the same thing. Tank is the same, but Tank hadn't really fought the people that they fought. I mean,
agreed with you, sir. Thank you for finally stating that. I get Gervonta Tank Davis fans all the time telling me this stuff about, Gervonta's face, this guy, that guy. Dude, at the end of the day, say whatever you want to about Devin Haney, but Devin Haney, and to be honest with you, Shakur Stevenson hasn't really fought like the creme de la creme either, but at least he has like Oscar Valdez on there, But when you talk about that, of a Devin Haney, the man is Lomachenko. He had George Kambosos, who of course was able to beat Teofimo Lopez. He has that of Regis Prograis, So it's like Devin Haney at least has a few names, and yeah, I don't even know if he has 25 fights yet. So Gervonta Tank Davis, once again, that dude, the clock is ticking. He's gonna have to start getting in the ring with some big names.
I don't know. I can't say that he fought the same level of competition even as the Devin Haney or Shakur.
Well, he definitely hasn't fought the same level of competition as the Devin Haney. There's no doubt about that. Shakur Stevenson, you could even argue that Shakur has fought slightly higher competition, but that's debatable because how good is Oscar Valdez really? Like, is he really that much more skilled than Ryan Garcia? Maybe he is. He probably is, but is probably more skilled than him. But I don't know if it's by that much.
I mean, who posed a threat for Davis?
Would you say maybe Mario Barrios? Because Mario went to welterweight, fought Ugas, beat him.
Barrios was the weakest 140-pounder.
Oh my goodness, sir. Oh my goodness. Preach. I've been stating this for the longest time. Mario Barrios at 140 was not an elite fighter. He was never an elite fighter. Never was an elite fighter. Now, I'm not going to state overall that he was the weakest 140-pounder. Now, some might say, well, he probably meant the weakest 140-pound champion, but I really can't even say champion because Mario Barrios has never been a legitimate champion. Unless you count the regular or the interim belts, and I don't count those as champions. I'm sorry. It is what it is. It's whatever. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, Mario Barrios was a dude who was always looked at as very good. He was never looked at as great. He was only pushed up once again by the LDBC and new media as that to promote Gervonta Tank Davis's resume as being better than what it actually was. Mario Barrios is not an elite fighter. And like I said, I don't even know what he's doing right now, putting Isaac Cruz and Rolly Romero and Mario Barrios all in possible title contention. Because he knows how that's going to look on Gervonta Tank Davis's resume. But in reality, and I've always stated this, those are guys that might be able to win a belt in a weak weight class or when the belts are vacated. They're not going to win the belt any other way. Those are not fighters that are going to win the belt any other way. The one that has the best shot in my view is Isaac Cruz. And of course, he was able to beat Rolly's ass, but he's not beating any super elite fighter.
Physically, Tank handled him. Now let's go back to one of my favorite fighters, the Mexican kid, Santa Cruz. Yeah. I love Santa Cruz, man.
Yeah.
If Santa Cruz was a little heavier, it would have been a problem.
This incredible product cleans any toilet in 60 seconds without any scrubbing. Take any dirty
Well, it probably would have been a problem, yes. You can partially say that Leo Santa Cruz, the reason why he lost that fight is because he's probably not a natural 130-pounder. One could state that. Now, of course, Leo Santa Cruz is also known as a little bit of a weight bully early on in his career as well, because he was Leo Santa Cruz. You want to talk about a fighter that was really built up, with a bunch of, potato bags, or tomato cans on his record. Let's talk about Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz had a multitude of opportunities to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux, but he always refused to fight for good reason. So it is what it is. A lot of people don't remember that. But, Leo Santa Cruz was a dude that also had a bunch of cans on his record. He beat some names like Carl Frampton and Abner Mares, but I'm not sure if Leo Santa Cruz was ever a definitive A-grade level fighter. If you want to argue it, that's up to you. But I'm not quite so sure about that. Not only the size, do I believe that Gervonta was probably heavier? Yeah, probably. But Leo Santa Cruz also, he just didn't have the level of power to threaten Gervonta Tank Davis. Leo has never really been a super powerful guy. It is what it is. He probably has about B-grade level power. At his best, A- in certain weight classes, in the lower weight classes. And then on top of that, of course, Gervonta is more skilled. Now, it would have been a problem, but, even had Leo Santa Cruz been the same size as Mario Barrios, would I have predicted Leo Santa Cruz to beat Gervonta? Probably not. Because Gervonta is an extraordinarily skilled fighter. He is a great fighter.
It would have been a problem.
And when I say great fighter, I'm talking about greatly skilled, not great accomplishment-wise, because in my view, he just hasn't done enough yet in that regard.
Santa Cruz is hitting Tank.
Because the only legitimate belt that Gervonta Tank Davis has ever truly won, and I'm not counting regular or interim belts, is the belt that he won over Jose Pedraza. That's the only one.
Combinate flush punches, but I think he was just too small, and Tank was just too vicious, and he was stronger, way physically stronger. So I don't know, man. I don't think Tank has faced that type of opposition.
Agreed, sir. Agreed. And once again, I've been stating this now for a few years. I have the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Gervonta Tank Davis fans. That's what I'm going to start calling them. There's always a nickname overall, for certain fans. Like Boxing Ego recently called the Devin Haney fans the Haneyaks, and you're not supposed to be a fan in my view in the first place. That'll ruin your logic and objectivity. So if you're a fan, then I can't really rely on you for your logic or objectivity for your commentary. That's what I'm going to start calling them. The Haneyaks. That's a good nickname. I'm going to start calling the Gervonta Tank Davis fans the Jehovah's Witnesses, because they act like a goddamn cult. Anything that you say about Gervonta Tank Davis, overall, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I can't even watch this video. This is trash, overall, once again. But like I said, Gervonta Tank Davis, great fighter. Great talent. Number one pound-for-pound potential talent. But in terms of accomplishments, in terms of his resume, no, not there yet.
Would you feel, because Devin's at 140, right? And not, politics would say, hey, Devin has to come down to 135 for Tank, and then Devin's obviously like, well, you're going to have to come up to 140. So there's kind of like they're both kind of in this dilemma, right? So, and do you think the fight happens at 135 or happens at 140?
If I'm Devin Haney, I'm not going down for nobody.
Right, but Devin Haney may not have that luxury, Mr. Whatever your name is. At the end of the day, there is this thing called the business side of boxing. And Devin Haney, whatever he would want to say about whatever he accomplished, he is not the ace out against Gervonta Tank Davis. And I have no doubt about it in my mind whatsoever that if that fight were to happen next, that Gervonta Tank Davis is not going to have that fight at 140 pounds. That fight's not going to happen at 140 in my personal view. Now, the question will be, is Gervonta Tank Davis, if he brings down Devin Haney to 135, a fighter that is known now for pretty much being outgrown for that weight class, is he going to get criticized like what Lomachenko was when he kept Devin Haney there at 135? And is he going to get criticized just like how Canelo gets criticized when he had Danny Jacobs at a rehydration clause, or, brings the fighter only up one weight class, just like Gervonta did Hector Garcia a couple of fights ago, or if Canelo was going to, if he was going to do with the light heavyweight, or David Benavidez, if he was going to have a rehydration clause, because we all know what the LDBC and Lumity would say if a fighter like Canelo Alvarez did this. So is Gervonta Tank Davis going to get the same criticism if he fights Devin Haney at a catchweight? I'll see about that. Now, just in my personal view, I really don't mind if the fight happens at a catchweight because Devin Haney is a guy that can really fight at the welterweight class. That fight, like Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney, that's almost very similar to the Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez fight. Not necessarily completely in the styles that they fight in, but, Canelo Alvarez, in my view, comparing him to Gervonta Davis, in my view, Canelo's the more all-around talented fighter than that of David Benavidez and the greater fighter, at least when you talk about in terms of talent, at least in certain areas. But when you talk about in terms of overall the size, and the length and overall the, certain attributes that they may have, that might be debatably the toughest fight out there for them, at least around their weight classes. And when you talk about that, Devin Haney is a dude that could probably easily fight at the welterweight class. David Benavidez is a dude that could probably easily fight at the cruiserweight class. So once again, that's why, that fight is a little bit comparable. It's going to be interesting to see if either of those fights happen, especially if Gervonta Davis fights Devin Haney at 140. I don't know if I quite see it happening at 135. I can maybe see 137, 138, but I don't see Gervonta Davis fighting Devin Haney at 140. I could be wrong. Either way, I don't mind Gervonta Davis doing that. And when I say I don't mind, I'm not stating that, because some people are going to take that the wrong way. They're going to be like, who are you to mind? Who are you to tell Gervonta Davis what to do? I'm not stating that. I'm just stating my own personal preference. I don't, personally, I wouldn't mind seeing a fight where Gervonta Davis, I don't think that it would be a bad idea. I don't think that it would make the fight bad. I don't personally mind Gervonta Davis bringing Devin Haney down a couple pounds because he's a big guy. So we'll see. But, of course you'd like to see it at 140, but we'll see what happens. I just don't think it'll happen.
Easy for Tank to come up because he probably walks around about 160, 165. He's a big kid, actually.
Yeah.
So 140 wouldn't be a problem for neither one of those guys.
Gervonta's a little bit similar to that of Canelo, where, he may rehydrate a little bit heavier, but at the end of the day, Gervonta Davis is a dude that he's only about, 5'6" with a 67, 69-inch arm reach. Devin Haney is a dude with a 72-inch arm reach or 71-inch arm reach that rehydrates at about 165, if not possibly even 170. So, once again, we'll see. Once again, that's why I say about Canelo, like a lot of these guys, when you take a look at their weight classes, they're actually bigger than him. Like a lot of people don't really realize, overall, once again, like Jamal Charlo, Caleb Plant, Danny Jacobs, Gennady Golovkin, Demetrius Bubble Andrade, even Jamal Charlo, believe it or not, a lot of those guys are bigger than Canelo. That's why when Jamal Charlo came in against Canelo, he was even heavier than what Canelo Alvarez was. You take a look at that fight, and Canelo's a bit, thicker over on the upper body. But Jamal Charlo was very comparable overall, once again, in terms, of the size. It is what it is.
I think even Haney's he's a big kid.
Yeah.
I think he still kind of struggles making 140, but
And of course, Andrade, he ended up rehydrating at about 190 something against David Benavidez. So once again, these guys will try to say, how Canelo is bigger than all these guys. All that is bullshit.
I think he got as nutrition guy's pretty good, so I think they see that fight at 140. I wouldn't go to 35. Why would I do that? Tank should come up and fight him. Why not? It's the best fight on the books. Come up and fight him.
Well, they say Tank is the smaller guy. He's going into essentially his fourth weight class, which,
Okay, so then he went up to 140 to fight Barrios.
But you mentioned he was...
And that's a great point overall by him. And, once again, I'm not going to state once again that Gervonta Davis has to have it at 140. But once again, if Canelo is going to get criticism and people are going to say that, or other fighters, oh, Canelo, why are you fighting Danny Jacobs at a rehydration clause, but you didn't fight other people at this weight class with a rehydration clause? Why are you fighting these other 168-pounders, overall for this, but with David Benavidez, you need a certain amount of money. I have no problem overall if you're going to, try to do some of those criticisms, if you want to put that out there. But then keep the same standards and keep them with Gervonta Davis. Gervonta, you went up to 140 to fight Mario Barrios. How come you won't do it with Devin Haney? How come overall you need more money to fight Devin Haney? Overall, how come this? How come that? Once again. So, like I stated, I don't mind the criticisms, even though personally, in my view, I think that, they have the right to at least ask for some of those demands, depending on the, how, how diva-ish the demands are or how, critical the demands are. You know, but once again, I don't personally mind those demands, but once again, keep the same standards across the board. Now, I know that they won't do that, but like I said, it'll be interesting to see.
He would, yep. Well, come on, there you go.
So I guess, so do you think, I guess in that sense, it's like, I'll fight this guy at 140, but I won't fight that guy at 140. I'll fight him at 130.
Well, it's like the bullying.
Well, because overall he knows that Devin Haney is a legitimate threat. You know, it is what it is. Of course, you fight Mario Barrios at 140 at the regular weight because it gets you adjusted at the weight a little bit, or bigger guys. And on top of that, you know damn well that Mario Barrios, that he's not a legitimate threat. It is what it is. At least he's not a guy that truly is an A-grade level fighter. But with Devin Haney, you know, to let a guy rehydrate all the way up to that, when you're a dude that's 5'6" with a 67 and 69-inch arm reach, it probably wouldn't be wise overall to just let Devin Haney rehydrate to the way that he wants to.
In the yard, he know who to play with. He know who to fuck with. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed, and every boxer does. That's why Canelo Alvarez right now against David Benavidez, he says that he needs a major payday, and I don't blame him.
Like, come on, man. The public, 140. He made 140. Why you can't make 140 again?
And even Devin Haney, when he stated about Shakur Stevenson that he would need this, and this, and you know he's somewhat entitled to those. But you can tell that Devin Haney, whenever Shakur Stevenson gets brought up, he gets a little bit nervous.
Really?
Maybe that was the fight that was like, you know what, I made it, but I ain't coming back to it again.
He said he wanted to fight Pitbull again too, so I don't know. I think that'd be help. Shakur, Haney, Davis, those guys. Somebody got to fight, man. Somebody got to fight before their career's over with. I think though.
Well, Gervonta Davis has to try to make the fights. Shakur Stevenson has been calling out Gervonta Davis. Devin Haney's been calling out Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis and his team won't fight either of them. So it is what it is. So it's Gervonta Davis that has to make those fights. Devin Haney has taken some big fights. Shakur Stevenson has at least tried overall to get in the ring and moved up his third weight class. It's Gervonta Davis's side who right now is the problem.
All those fighters are very skillful, and they have great pedigree. So they.
And once again, some people may say, well, what about Canelo Alvarez? Because in the past you stated overall, you know, where you weren't quite as critical about Canelo Alvarez. Well, right now, Canelo Alvarez is going to have to get in the ring with David Benavidez. It is what it is. And Canelo, you know, once again, he could just be asking over for a major payday, and that could be the thing. But the thing is about Canelo Alvarez, the reason why I'm usually a little bit less critical of him compared to Gervonta Davis is because Canelo has shown me that he's eventually going to get in the ring with the elite level names. You know, he's gotten in the ring with Golovkin. He's gotten in the ring with Lara. He's gotten in the ring with Jacobs and Smith and Saunders and Plant and all these other guys, you know, and Jermell Charlo and all these other guys. But he is going to have to get in the ring with David Benavidez. And Canelo Alvarez, right now, he is going to have to try to make that fight more apparently happen, because you can tell that Canelo Alvarez, that he is a little bit nervous at David Benavidez. No doubt about it, you know. But once again, we'll see with Gervonta Davis. He could be building up the fight, just like how Canelo did with Golovkin in the past, or just like how Mayweather did with certain fighters or other certain fighters in the past. Or he just may not want to fight those guys. I don't know. But once again, I'm not going to go too harsh on Gervonta Davis, but he is going to have to fight those guys, you know, because it's no offense against him. But like I said, you know, I'm a little bit more lenient on fighters, you know, if I hear this stuff about them not wanting to fight this guy or that guy, but I've seen them fight great competition in the past, like a Devin Haney or a Canelo Alvarez or someone of that sort. But Gervonta Davis has literally fought nobody. Like, when's the last time you've actually ever heard him call out an elite fighter? He talks all this Twitter trash about how he'll beat this guy up and beat that guy up, but he never fights any of them. He don't fight Josh Taylor. He didn't fight Regis Prograis. He didn't fight Teofimo Lopez. He didn't fight Lomachenko. You know, he didn't fight Devin Haney. He hasn't fought anyone. You know, Shakur Stevenson, he hasn't fought anyone. So it's like, you know, he's going to have to eventually call out one of these guys, man, or fight one of these guys.
Should fight.
My last question, going back to the fighter that you work with, Regis. I think someone put a tweet saying, hey, Regis and Rolly. He's like, nah, I want Pitbull. So what's your thoughts on Regis and Pitbull? Well, technically it would be Santa Cruz, you know, Regis.
That's what Regis said?
Yeah, he said he wanted Pitbull.
Whatever the champ want, I'm down with him. We roll him 24/7. If he said,
that'd be a great fight. I'd love to see that fight. Like Pitbull Cruz versus Regis Prograis. I'm not exactly sure who would win that fight. I would probably predict Regis Prograis, but Isaac Pitbull Cruz is he's a railroad train, And he's a dude, once again, that loves to come forward constantly. So that would be a very interesting fight. I'm not really quite sure. But I would predict Regis Prograis. I would predict that he's the slightly more multi-dimensional fighter. And that he also has great power to worry that of an Isaac Cruz. That'd be a very interesting fight. But coming off of that loss to Devin Haney, we'll see.
That then, that ain't my job. But if whatever he want, I'm with him.
Yeah.
I'm with him.
How do you think that fight plays out?
Shit, Regis knocks him out. I ain't ever. Listen, Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis.
I'm not quite sure how that fight would end up. I would predict Regis Prograis to at least win by that of unanimous decision. But, or split decision. But that'd be an interesting fight because Regis Prograis is not a definitive A-grade level fighter either. So that'd be interesting. That'd be one of the fights to where Isaac could potentially steal that one. I would probably predict him to lose, but if he ended up winning that, I wouldn't be shocked.
One of the hardest punches at 140, no matter what happened the last.
And that'd be interesting to see if Regis Prograis could hurt Isaac Pitbull Cruz early, overall once again, and get him to back up. I want to see how Isaac Pitbull Cruz reacts to that, because in my view, he does not look like a fighter who can fight on the back foot whatsoever. Like I said, he's a very one-dimensional type of striker. But it works overall once again because he's very good defensively and short and stout. So it's very hard to hit him to the body. It's very hard to hit him, period. And he's a guy that has a lot of confidence in himself and he comes forward constantly. So we'll see.
Right. He hits like a truck. So anytime you got that type of power, you pose a threat on anybody. Anytime you got that type of power, you pose a threat on anybody.
Do you feel maybe stylistically this favors Regis because Devin was a lot more elusive and Pitbull will be coming through?
Well, Pitbull is going to come straight ahead. He's going to come straight ahead, and then he's going to get hit. What are you going to do when you get hit by somebody like that? So
I'm going to be very interested to see the answer to that question too, sir. Because once again, some of these guys, when they're one-dimensional fighters and they're usually used to outpowering their opponents and outbrawling them, when they finally get hit for real against a real deal level boxer or someone that can figure out their style, it usually ends up taking a turn for the worse. Like Rolly Romero, like Deontay Wilder.
Yet to be seen.
Some people say Pitbull.
And Deontay, in my view, for his weight class was, of course, greater than what Rolly Romero was for his. But in terms of the skill sets, it was probably about the same.
Got a chin because he got hit by Tank and Rolly flush, so you think that?
Yeah, but they're not. We can't even listen. We say Rolly hit hard, but Rolly was running for his life.
Agreed. Rolly Romero was on the witness protection program during that fight against Isaac Pitbull Cruz. That dude was running for his life in that fight. He couldn't get a shot in.
You know what I'm saying? And Regis is a true 140-pounder. And, Pitbull is not a true 140-pounder. If you get hit on your chin at this level, anyone can go down. So, I don't know. I'm riding with Mr. Prograis. Whatever he do, I'm with him 100%, man.
In the last fight with Regis, because it seems like that might not happen because of politics, but with the politics in favor of this fight, Regis and Matias are both for matching after Matias went there. So, Regis and Matias.
That's a fight. Mm-hmm. That's a good fight. I think that fight could be made.
That is a good fight. I would probably predict Regis Prograis to win that one as well, but you never personally know. I'm not quite sure, especially after Regis Prograis suffered such a damaging loss to that of Devin Haney. And when I say damaging, I'm not really talking about, that he got super duper hurt throughout that whole entire fight, although there was definitely a few times where he definitely was hurt, potentially even, looked like he was about to be stopped a couple times, or at least once from what I remember. I'd have to rewatch it. But, I'm not quite sure, because after a loss like that, he just might not be the same.
Somewhere down the line. Matias be sending me DMs. He wants that fight.
Oh, word?
Oh, yeah.
What is the
the last one I got, he said, you told Regis already. I said, motherfucker, we ready. Regis will be ready. Whenever you're ready, we'll be ready. They make the fight. I don't think Champ turns it down, and when the time is right, I think they'll make that fight.
Do you think Regis would jump right from Devin into Matias immediately, or would?
I don't think anybody would do that. I think, he'll probably take some fights, like maybe.
Regis better be careful in that fight, though. He better be careful against Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Subriel Matias, because for him, those are both very losable fights. Those guys, they're one-dimensional fighters, but they're very powerful. They're guys overall that have a great amount of belief in themselves. And Subriel Matias is a guy, he just comes for it constantly. You know, he's a guy that just, he comes at you the whole entire time. And that dude obviously has tremendous power. You know, that's why he unfortunately ended up killing somebody at one point in time. And I believe he's damn near knocked out everyone on his record. If not everyone, of course, besides that one loss. You know, if I'm wrong about that, someone correct me. But yeah, Subriel Matias, very dangerous fighter. And Regis Prograis would have to use his feet a little bit more in that fight if he wanted to win that. Because staying in the pocket against Subriel Matias, I mean, I'm sure Subriel, you know, I'm sure that, you know, Prograis could still potentially win, even if he did fight a little bit more on the inside. But, you know, you don't want to fight on the inside completely with that guy. That guy is, you know, of course, he's not the most technical that I've ever seen, you know, but he's a guy that is supremely dangerous.
1 or 2 fights and be ready to go. But you never know. I mean, he called out Pitbull, so I don't know. The champ, you know, boxers, they got their own mentality, man.
Yeah.
I mean, my job is to be his conditioning coach, and that's what I do. And if he said, Coach, I'm getting ready for Matias, Coach, I'm getting ready for Pitbull, guess what? My ass is there training him, so whatever. It's all good. All we do is win anyway, so I'm ready.
Okay.
Whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, not all you do is win, because Devin Haney whooped your fighter's ass last time, but it is what it is. I know what you mean, dude.
Look, where can they find you on social media if they want to get a little bit more?
I'm at Fitness.
Of course, I like this guy's attitude. He seems like a very pleasant guy. And of course, it seems like he's had a great amount of success. But of course, you know, maybe he's not the boxing trainer. It appears he's just his conditioning coach. But shit, maybe someone else in that corner should have gave him some new pointers, because Regis Prograis was lost in that fight.
Tobler on Instagram, and I think I'm at Tobler on Twitter. Man, I don't know shit about all that stuff. I got on Twitter this year just because, and I've been having a great time on Twitter. So yeah, hit me up. You want that training? The real training. I am the best at this deal, strength and conditioning. Evans Tobler. We out, baby.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
But anyway, that was pretty much about it for that video. I just thought that was very particularly interesting. But anyways, we'll see overall where this goes. But I'm very interested, or very glad overall, that man not just stated overall his opinions about the weight class, but also said what I've been saying for a very long time about Gervonta Davis, which is that, in my view, even though he's a very decent fighter and a great talent, he don't really have the level of competition like that. It is what it is, you know, but it's whatever. Anyways, that's pretty much about it for today. We'll see what ends up happening in this weight class. Very exciting weight class, so we'll see. But the fight that I would love to see next, at least for Devin Haney, I, of course, like to see Gervonta Davis. I think that's the fight that everyone mainly would want to see. But if that fight isn't going to happen next, of course, possibly Teofimo Lopez. But Tio and Devin Haney might have to take care of either Isaac Pitbull Cruz or Subriel Matias first. You know, they might have to take care of one of those, because, of course, the mega fight would be Tio versus Devin Haney. But we'll see. But anyways, that pretty much is about it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to y'all later.